YouTube, what's good? Welcome back to the channel. In the background, enjoy some crispy Igneous Hammer gameplay with the speed loader slacks. Today, we're discussing a recent tweet that told us that 2 weapons are leaving the trials pool, and in return, we're getting a brand new one with a reprised weapon as well. Now, this is nothing new to us. This is pretty consistent with what we have seen in the past with previous seasons. Now, originally, they made a mistake by saying that 2 new weapons were entering the trials pool. They later decided to make a tweet or a zeet. I'm not really sure what to call it. Elon Musk is bored again. I get it though. The season is dry. Anyways, they corrected it by saying that only 1 new weapon is entering the trials pool and the other one is a highly requested hand cannon making its return with updated perks. Now, to add on to the hype, developer Mercules also stated that he was excited to bring this one back. This begs the question, which hand cannon is it? Majority of us are in agreement that it has to be the one and only iconic Igneous Hammer. It makes so much sense. Back when it came out, it was very popular, powerful. Many of us grinded for god rolls, and you could say this weapon was much harder to obtain than the Immortal was nowadays. There are a few people in the community that are attached to this copium tank, thinking that Jewel of Osiris, a Destiny 1 Trials hand cannon, will be making a return. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, but if you feel like there's any evidence, proof, or anything to back it up, do let me know in the comments below. It would be pretty badass, I'm not going to lie, but no, I feel like that's kind of a stretch. With that being said, let's talk about why this matters to me and why it should matter to you. Igneous Hammer was an extremely popular and powerful hand cannon when it first came out. The hype was unreal. I'm telling you, it was more than the exalted truth, and that is also a hand cannon. You could ask anyone what they consider the best 120 hand cannon, and they more than likely will say Igneous Hammer. With the exception of the people that have never tried it, of course. How would they know? So, Igneous Hammer is what we consider a stat monster. I don't think we have an appropriate name for legendaries that are just beyond the S tier, but I don't know, what do we call them? Uber legendaries? Whatever. You get the point. This thing was insane. It was packed with stats for stability, handling, reload, range. You had adept mods to increase the stats of stability, range, handling by 10, whichever you preferred. On top of that, it also had a selection of perks in the first and second column that were very, and I mean very viable inside of PvP. So, my goal now is to catch you up to speed and also prepare you for the future so you know what to look for when it comes to the Igneous Hammer. First up, let's take a look here at the Igneous Hammer on D2 Foundry. For barrels, we like to go for fluted so we can increase the handling and the stability. You can also go for something like small bore to increase the stability and the range. Either one is pretty solid when it comes to 120s. Next up, we have the magazine perk, which is ricochet rounds being the best option here. Now, I wouldn't shy away from using something like a pendant mag to increase the magazine size. That is ultimately kind of preference, but if you really want to make this a monster, getting that range and stability is definitely a plus. Here in the first column, you can already take a look. We have plenty of options to pick from. Quick draw to pull out a clunky 120 out much faster, kill and win to give you even more range, outlaw to reload faster. But the S tier perk, at least on the previous version of Igneous Hammer, has, and I believe always will be, rapid hit. You see, just upon getting 1 crit, you increase your stability up, you get another shot, and it goes up even more. So the stability means you have less recoil. Many people on controller will really appreciate that, but this is something that many players on M&K and controllers should think about, and that's the fact that with more stability as you're shooting players, the less bloom you're going to experience, thus allowing you to hit that second shot and that third shot just as you did the first one. Next up, we have things like Encore to increase your stability and the range, but obviously when it comes to hand cannons, at least for me, I like perks that just enhance the weapon without me needing to get a kill. In the next column, we have options like Rampage. Now, originally when it came out, this was the go-to perk because with just 1 stack, I believe, you could 2-tap players inside of PvP, and it was a disaster because many people were getting bullied by this weapon. But now that the perk has been reworked or just had its damage values changed, it's not really that much of a viable perk. So what else do we have? We have Snapshot to increase the handling, definitely a viable option, but I would shy away from it because you can just get used to the slow ADS. It's not really that big of a deal. Moving Target for the people that like it, but I personally don't. Elemental Capacitor is definitely an S tier perk when it comes to using 120s. Not only can you play Void to give you a significant boost to your handling, but you can also switch over to Arc, to give yourself an insane amount of handling speed so that you can swap weapons faster. So you get the deal here. This perk gives you a huge stat boost regardless of what subclass you want to play. Next up, we have another S tier perk here, the opening shot. So the first bullet gets 20 aim assist, 25 range. Basically, the shot just registers as best as possible as it can, so long as you're aiming at the target. Now, my personal favorite that I don't know if it's going to return is Celerity. Let's read what it states. So this increases weapon handling and reload speed. You gain the following effects while you are the last living member of your fire team, which is increased target acquisition, increased handling and reload speed, reduce flinch from incoming fire. Now, that sounds kind of like the origin trait that we already have, Alacrity, and it's a little bit different because due to community feedback, we did not like that this perk was taking up a perk slot and only had a benefit if you were the last player. It pretty much just ruined the god roll. So Bungie took that feedback and they actually decided to give it a passive stat bonus, and here it states 20 handling and 20 reload speed. Now 20 handling is a big deal because if you look at the adept mods, they just give you plus 10. So now the perk isn't trash and you have that extra benefit if you are trying to clutch as a solo player. Alright, so by now you understand what I'm looking for on the Igneous Hammer. Perks that are neutral, that don't require me to get a kill. As for the masterwork in the adept mods, ultimately it's up to you. You can go for range masterwork, you can use the stability adept mod, you can spec it out to your own personal like. So here on the screen, I'm going to pull up a couple hand cannons that are very popular, also 120s. We're going to speculate as to what new perks might be coming on the Igneous Hammer as the weapon is getting updated. On the round robin, we got introduced to Keep Away, Envious Assassin, Perfect Float, and the list goes on. So I'm going to hand pick some perks that are very popular across round robin, something new, combined action, and then we're going to see what perks are actually the ones we need to keep our eyes on. So on the round robin, things that point out are Keep Away. This is definitely an S tier perk. It's kind of like the new rangefinder, simply for being a little bit far away from enemy teams or opponents, I should say. You are going to get an additional plus 10 range, increased reload speed, and a accuracy cone reduced by 5%. So that is an insane perk. If Igneous Hammer has it, that's definitely something we all want. So next up here on something new, there wasn't anything interesting other than the fact that it does have its own personal element trait perk, which is Headstone, and round robin also experiences that with Hatchling. So we don't really have a variant 120 with Incandescent, so it's very possible they put that perk there in order to get some PvE players to hunt for that down. So if you're a fan of Incandescent, you have been wanting that on a hand cannon other than the King's Fall one, this is something that you should consider using in the future, of course. Now, the last one is a 120 that's kind of rare right now. It doesn't have too much hype, but there are some big fans of it. It's the reskinned Dire Promise known as Combined Action. This one has a bunch of different perks that we haven't really seen on 120s. For example, I'll read them to you. Hipfire Grip, I really like that perk. We have Zen Moment, which is an S tier perk, possibly even better than Rapid Hit. I won't really know. We have Eddy Current, No Distractions, and the other perks are quite boring. In the next column, we got introduced to the Arc Elemental special trait, Volt Shot, which further, amplifies that idea that possibly Igneous Hammer will be getting Incandescent. We also have Time Payload, which people like because of the extra flinch, but personally I don't find it too exciting. This one also has Kill Clip, which is definitely a perk we could see on the Igneous or for that 2-tap potential. But then there's another one that a lot of people are sleeping on that I have not had a chance to try, and that's Adagio. So simply by getting the kill, you do not need to reload, and you do get to 2-tap players. As far as I'm aware, this also lasts a little bit longer than the damage bonus you get from Kill Clip. So If they were to put a dodge on the Igneous Hammer, that is going to be, wow, just something crazy to witness inside of PvP, because you get one kill, you can instantly engage somebody else and go for those 2 taps. Mind you, the weapon will be shooting a little bit slower, so probably not going to be that big of a deal. Time will tell. So thank you so much for listening. This is a Igneous Hammer breakdown. Hopefully I caught you up to speed. Hopefully you understand what to look for in the future. Now let's discuss why this hand cannon is such a big deal to be excited about. So, as I'm making this recording, pulse rifles are dominating at long range, and Immortal destroys anything at close to medium range. Hand cannons do have a bit of a tough time existing in this space, so this probably makes you question, what is the point of a 120? How does it provide any value? And the answer is basically chip damage and team shots, and that extra damage at longer ranges. A 140 can't always tag someone with a pulse rifle at the back of the map. Sometimes we have these long lanes, sometimes we have these situations where players are constantly healing, providing overshields, and that's where the 120 damage really comes into play. Just simply by team shotting with someone else, you can take down opponents much faster. If you need that extra range to hit that pulse rifle player further at the back of the map, then don't worry, things like Round Robin, Igneous Hammer, the combined action, something new, can put in the work, rather than using a 140, which is going to be doing like no damage. So I guess the point I'm really trying to make is that 120s, while not always better than 140s, they can definitely be the best option depending on your playstyle, the enemy playstyle, and on the map. That's it for me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed listening. And anyways, I'll catch you in the next video. Make sure you drop me a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Peace.